So this is going to be the 2-1 to 2-4 review. So we're going to be talking about equations of lines and direct variation. So determine whether the relation is a function. So if I were to write these as points, I have -6 or -9 going to -6, 3 going to -6, 5 going to 21, 11 going to -2, 11 also going to 21. Okay, so to tell whether it's a function, you look at the domain or the x values. If they repeat, it's not a function because it won't pass your vertical line test. So my 11s repeat, so this is not a function. If I scoot over to this one, I have 3 going to 15, 5 going to 21, 6 going to -2, and 8 going to -6. None of my x values or domains repeat, so it is a function. It would pass my vertical line test. Okay, state the domain range and whether it's a function. So my domain is all my x values, my range is all my y values. Domain, range, domain, range, domain, range, domain, range. Okay, and to tell whether it's a function, you see if your x values repeat. It doesn't look like any of them repeat, so yes, it's a function. Is this a function? And then tell me why. So to look, I make a bunch of vertical lines. If it crosses twice, that means it would have two x values that are the same. Then it is not a function, okay, because it does not pass the vertical line test. Find the output of the given function and write it as an ordered pair. So if x equals 3, I'm going to replace my x. Remember, when you take it out, you put it in with parentheses. If you don't put it in with parentheses, I guarantee you're going to square something wrong, especially if it's negative. So then we do our 13 times 3 to get 39. 39 minus 2 is 37. Remember, f of x, okay, that's just the function of. So I'm not going to divide anything. I'm going to write it as an ordered pair. So I put 3 in for my x, and I got 37 as my output, or my y value. So you're only working the one side. Find the constant of variation. Okay, so we can either use y equals kx, or y over x equals k. Okay, for this one, to find the constant, we're going to use this. So I'm going to zoom in. So I'm going to do my y over my x, so 14 over 2, which is 7. My y over x, so 21 over 3, which is 7. My 35 over 5, which is 7. So my constant of variation is 7. Okay, this one we're using the y equals kx. Remember, I related this to my y equals mx plus b, where my constant of variation is my slope. So you might have to get it into y equals mx plus b, but it should just be that -6, so the slope. Okay, use direct variation to find the value of x. So this one we're using our y over x. So I'm going to have my given y over x, so 5 over -3, and set it equal to, I don't know my x, but I know my y is 1. And since x goes on the bottom, the -1 goes on top. So this one we cross multiply, so we're going to get 5 times x. We drop the equal sign in the center, and -3 times -1. So 5 times x equals +3. We divide by 5. So x is equal to 3 over 5. We're trying to find the x value that would make the same constant of variation dependent on that y value. Okay, same thing. So we do our y over our x of our given. This time I don't know y, so I'm putting a y on top, and I'm putting my x on the bottom. So when I cross multiply, we get -63, drop the equal sign in the center, -3y, divide by -3. So y should equal 21. Okay, find the slope-intercept equation. So to be able to find any equation, the first thing you have to find is slope. So my y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So if I label x1, y1, x2, y2, I'm going to have 0 minus 1 over 3 minus 0. 0 minus 1 is -1. 3 minus 0 is 3. I'm going to plug it into my point slope equation, so my y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, and solve it to get my y equals mx plus b. So let's go ahead and just pick this point. So I'm going to do y minus 1 is equal to my slope, so negative 1/3, x minus my x1, which is 0. To get it into y equals mx plus b, I need to distribute because we're trying to get y by itself. Negative 1/3 times 0 is just 0. We need to add 1 to both sides, so y equals negative 1/3 x plus 1. You could have used the other point as well. Okay, if for some reason you get your slope to be undefined, I would look, because undefined is always an x equals number. They will probably have the same x value here, in which case your answer would be x equals whatever that number is. Okay, so find the slope. Let me make sure. Yep, slope-intercept equation. So we're going to find the slope first. So x1, y1, x2, y2. So negative 3 minus negative 3, because there's always a minus sign in there. Negative 1 minus negative 3. It will change to plus signs. Negative 3 plus 3 is 0. Negative 1 plus 3 is 2. 0 on top is okay, so my slope is 0. So let's go ahead and pick this point. So I get y minus negative 3 equals my slope. X minus negative 3. My negatives change to plus signs. Get it into y equals mx plus b. I need to distribute the 0. 0 times x is 0. 0 times 3 is 0. I'm going to subtract 3, so y equals negative 3. And if you look, they both have negative 3's as their y's. Like when I was explaining before, if you get an undefined slope, they're probably going to have the same x values, in which case it would be x equals the number. Okay, write the equation of the line. So when I'm doing y equals mx plus b, the easiest one to find first normally is that y-intercept, so it's crossing at negative 1. So I'm going to get y equals mx minus 1. Now I've got to find the slope. So if we go from that point to that point, right there, I am going up 1, so positive, and left 2. Going left is negative. So I got y equals negative 1/2 x minus 1. Okay, write in standard form with integer coefficients. Standard form is my ax plus by equals c, so x and y on the same side, and with integer coefficients, so no fractions or decimals. So first, if I'm trying to get this over, I'm going to subtract it. And remember, your x has to come first, so I got negative 2x plus 1/2 y is equal to 16. You look at the bottom or the denominator of your fraction to figure out what you're multiplying everything by to get rid of your fraction. So this becomes a negative 4x. This becomes a plus 1. And this becomes a 32. Find the x and y intercepts and graph it. So if you wanted to graph it and then find where they crossed, you can. You just have to get it into y equals mx plus b. I'm going to do the cover-up method. So to find the x-intercept, I cover up the y. So my x-intercept is at 6. If I want to find my y-intercept, I cover up the x. So I got negative 2y equals 6. Divide by negative 2, so y equals negative 3. So that's where it's crossing. So it's crossing my x-axis at 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it's crossing my y-axis at negative 3. And we connect our points. Okay? For you to be able to do this, x and y have to be on the same side. Have to be in standard form to do cover-up method. Okay, find the equation of a line that is parallel to this equation and goes through that point. So first off, I need to find slope because parallel lines have the same slopes. So let's go ahead and get it into y equals mx plus b to figure out what my slope is. So we're going to subtract 2x. So negative 3y is equal to negative 2x minus 3. Divide everything by negative 3. So y equals a positive 2 over 3, because two negatives make a positive. Negative 3 divided by negative 3 is 1. So if they are parallel, my same slope, 2 over 3, and here is my new point, that negative 7, 10. So I'm going to plug it into my point slope to find my equation. So y minus my y1 equals my slope, x minus my x1. Two negatives will then make that a plus sign. We got to get it into y equals mx plus b, so we're going to go ahead and distribute this. So I got 2/3 x. When we multiply fractions, we multiply the top. So 7 times 2, we get 14/3. We need y by itself, so we're going to go ahead and add 10. But when we add fractions, so 14/3, we need it to have common denominators. So if we multiply the top and bottom by 3, we get 30/3, which is the same thing as 10. So I got y equals 2/3 x plus that 30/3. Or 14 plus 30 is 44/3. So you find your new slope, you write your equation in point slope, and solve it to get y equals mx plus b. The one on a quiz is not going to look this ugly. Okay, this one's perpendicular, so let's go ahead and find my equation first. So we got to subtract 3x. So I got y equals negative 3x plus 1. So I need, for perpendicular, opposite reciprocal. So the opposite of negative is positive. The reciprocal of 3 is 1/3. And here's my point. So I got y minus 1 is equal to my slope, x minus my x1. Two negatives will then make a positive, so we're going to go ahead and distribute this. 2 times 1 is 2. We need to add 1. If we want it to have common denominators, the denominator is 3 right now, so it's the same thing as adding 3/3. So I got y equals 1/3 x. 3 plus 2 gets me 5/3. So just remember, perpendicular is opposite reciprocal.